It wasn't that long ago that Ontario's economy was in a really tough spot. But today, the big conversation is all about artificial intelligence. So how on earth did we get from that crisis to this opportunity? And what does it tell us about what's coming next? All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so first, we need to rewind the clock a bit. Let's go back to the summer of 2020. For businesses all over Ontario, the pandemic wasn't just, a minor hurdle, it was a full-blown economic firestorm.
And that word, firestorm, that's not just me being dramatic. This quote comes directly from testimony given to the Legislative Assembly. It really nails the feeling on the ground at the time. It wasn't an exaggeration at all. For literally thousands of small and medium-sized businesses, it was just about survival. And that feeling? It was backed up by some seriously stark numbers. Just look at the region of Peel, for instance. Unemployment just skyrocketed to 16.3%. It more than tripled in just a couple of months. I mean, think about that. This wasn't just some abstract business problem on a spreadsheet. This was a real crisis for families, for entire communities.
Now, don't get me wrong. There were some incredible stories of resilience. You had companies like O2 Medical Technologies pivoting to make thousands of ventilators, which was amazing. But these bright spots, as important as they were, couldn't really hide the bigger picture. The reality was, overall business growth, which had been doing great, slowed to an absolute crawl.
So of course, the government stepped in with support programs. But here's the problem. For so many businesses, that help just never showed up. It felt like they were completely falling through the cracks. Let's take the Commercial Rent Relief Program as a perfect example. The city of Brampton actually pulled its small businesses, and the results, well, they were just staggering. A whopping 85% said they'd received zero relief. None. The help just wasn't getting to the people who needed it the most.
So you gotta ask, what went wrong? Well, it turns out the programs themselves had some major structural flaws. For one thing, rent relief depended on the landlords applying, not the tenants. The qualifying rules were often way too strict. And a lot of the help was just loan deferrals, which only kicks the can down the road, right? It all added up to this. The very job creators the economy depends on were left completely exposed.
Okay, so this whole experience really shone a spotlight on some deep vulnerabilities in how we do business. It forced everyone to ask this massive question. How do we build back an economy that's not just stronger, but also smarter? More resilient to the next big shock? Well, the answer, as it turns out, was already quietly taking shape in Ontario's tech sector.
And that brings us to artificial intelligence. Look, I know it can sound like just another buzzword, but it's so much more than that. We're talking about a really powerful set of tools that can create a path to way more productivity, more innovation, and ultimately a stronger economy.
So what is it really? Well, at its most basic level, AI is all about teaching computers to do things that normally need a human brain. Think of it like a superpowered assistant for all of us. It helps us augment our own abilities so we can solve really complex problems way faster and more efficiently.
And here's the really cool part. Ontario is already a global powerhouse in this stuff. As Minister Fedeli notes, our province is a leading source of AI talent. In fact, Toronto has one of the highest concentrations of AI startups in the entire world. That's huge.
But, okay, this isn't just theory or, stuff that might happen someday. Let's look at how AI is already delivering incredible, real-world results right here, right now in Ontario.
Just check out this data from the Vector Institute. It shows just how wide-ranging AI's impact is. I mean, in healthcare, it's doing things like predicting when a patient's condition might get worse and even helping manage chronic illnesses from home. In the environment, it's tracking invasive species. And for the economy, it's helping predict food prices so we can make better policy decisions. It's everywhere.
And if you want a perfect example of why this matters so much, just look at this number, 20%. That's the actual decrease in patient mortality at St. Michael's Hospital after they brought in an AI system called ChartWatch. Let that sink in. This isn't just about efficiency. This technology is literally saving lives.
So, okay, the potential is obviously massive. The tools are here, they're working, and there is a big but, there's a major hurdle we have to get over, and it's something called the Great Adoption Gap.
And this slide really lays out the central tension perfectly. On one hand, you've got this incredible promise. AI could add something like $187 billion to Canada's GDP. But on the other hand, you have the reality for so many people. There's a huge skills gap that's stopping businesses, especially the small and medium-sized ones, from actually using these tools. And the data shows that adoption is definitely happening. About 6 out of 10 businesses are already using generative AI. You know, the kind of AI that can create stuff like text or images. But that means 4 out of 10 aren't. And that's a huge number, especially when you think about Ontario's nearly 500,000 small and medium businesses. We're talking about the backbone of our entire economy being at risk of getting left behind.
So, what do we do about it? What's the solution? Well, it all comes down to one thing: skills. The #1 priority has got to be skills. If we want to close this gap and make sure everyone benefits, we have to build that bridge forward. And we build it by investing in people.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from the Ontario Chamber of Commerce absolutely nails it. They make it crystal clear. Technology is only half the battle. We can't unlock the economic power of AI if we don't invest in people. Period.
And the good news is there's a pretty clear roadmap for how to do this. Step 1, we need foundational digital literacy for absolutely everyone. Step 2, we need applied AI training to help our current workforce adapt and reskill. And finally, Step 3, we have to foster those advanced skills to build the next generation of people who will invent the AI of the future.
So that brings us right back to where we are today. We've gone from that economic firestorm of 2020 all the way to this moment of incredible technological promise. The tools to build a stronger, more innovative, more resilient economy, they're not some far-off dream. They're right here, in front of us. The only real question left is, are we actually ready to use them? Are we willing to make the investment in the people who will power this new future?